Welcome. It is no accident that you have found your way to the Release the Genie podcast. What would you do with 3 wishes? And what if you discovered that you are in fact that very genie that could grant them? Well, join us now as we discover who our next genie is as we listen in and learn the stories of triumph, inspiration, and passion with some very special guests. And now, without further delay, your host of the Release the Genie podcast, Mr. Paul Rogers.
That's so much better. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in from. I am your host, Paul Rogers, and welcome to another episode of Release the Genie. We have a very special genie today. We finally were able to coordinate our diaries, which was kind of cool. The wonderful, the extravagant Mr. Matt Crump. And let me just whoa!
And the crowd goes wild, and they say, "Really? This is it? This guy?"
Let me just big you up a little bit more, my friend. So, podcast of the Amazing Hope Revealed, a CEO of MCM, a coach and consultant when you can fit that in, of course, best-selling author, social movement TV series, which is really just a new baby at the gates. And if you're not already on Clubhouse, you need to get on there and check out his wonderful room. I've been in it, which is Let's Get Naked.
Let's get naked.
So, Matt, tell us, if there is anything else, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, that's pretty wild ride, huh? So I guess backing up a little bit, I was a frustrated kid. I'll make the long story really short. Tried to kill myself at 13, realized I didn't want to die, just didn't want to live that way. Went into drugs and alcohol, joined the military, got even more drugs and alcohol. Finally had a life-changing moment. Some guy shared Jesus with me, and I accepted him and changed my life forever. So I was done with all that mess, ready to deal with all the other messes that life had to throw at me. Move forward a little bit further down the road. I started several businesses and been doing some great things. I was a singer-songwriter and toured with a record label back then called Ensoul Records out of Hollywood. It was kind of a not hip hop, it was a techno, what I meant to say was techno, like trance kind of a thing, right?
Down with the kids, eh?
Yeah, it was fun back then. And then 2011, I ended up getting cancer. I got melanoma cancer and had surgeries, got things done. They thought everything was good, all clear. Fast forward to 2015. Nope, not so much. Started coughing up blood on stage. Thought that I had pneumonia. Found out cancer was back. Except I was stage 4. Started in my adrenal gland tumor site by my muscle, by my kidney area, by the muscle, not the kidney itself, my leg. Then it had traveled to my lung. And then after getting on treatments, within a couple of months, I ended up being medevaced to Duke Cancer Center for emergency brain surgery. I had a bleeding brain tumor and was about to exit the planet as we know it, unless I had the surgery. And then even up to less than 1 year ago, I've had my second brain surgery. And now after 10 years of fighting cancer altogether, I got my first clean scan just a few months ago, which was really welcomed news and changed a lot of things in perspective for me as well. Wondering, am I going to die today or not? I might have a little bit longer, hopefully. And then some really great things that have happened in between with my coaching, as you talk about, and consulting, and now with this television series and reality show called The Social Movement. I mean, super psyched about that. But I love that I just am able to serve people and take all the junk in my life, everything that I've screwed up, and turn it into something good for somebody else to help them overcome their problems and obstacles.
Do you know, and as I listened to you, I had a brush with cancer myself, so I have a lot of empathy for you there. But when I think you face your mortality again and again and again, I believe that you come back a changed person with another message. Is that how you see it too?
Yeah, absolutely. You know that as well as I do. You face those situations. It's not something you can explain fully. I don't think people can honestly comprehend it all unless you've actually been through it. Doesn't mean you can't get it, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's just the experience side of it. And there's just things that just hit me so hard during those moments that will never go away. They'll never end. And there's just certain things about my call and purpose in life that have been solidified as a result of some of the times I've had to face death in the face.
No, and yeah, never in the face. But they, but, you know, I kind of think that, and this is not disrespectful to anyone else who's listening, but I think that the people who are hit the hardest with that type of adversity, they seem to be the ones who really, really make a difference and change. It's almost like the pendulum swings one way and then it goes crazy the other way. And that kind of, I can see that in your work.
Well, I'm glad you can, first and foremost, because it ain't easy, as you know. So it's a blessing to hear that. And there's no doubt that it can go the opposite way. People can just give up, you know. In my case and in yours, I've had to look at it and say, well, you know, even when it came down to the cancer in my life, I can choose to accept that I'm going to die of cancer. Here's all the facts. Here's the truth. You have all this, this, and this. What we know so far in science is that you probably have this long to live. You're going to die. Okay, I can go home and die, or I can choose to live life. And that's just what my perspective was, what my choice. I said, you know what, I choose to live. And whenever I die, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. No, I know we could probably talk about that too, but I mean, anything could happen. And when that does, what are we going to do? So instead of constantly being consumed by the bad news, which we all face in some form or fashion, I choose to do something different. And that was for me, was to live life. Now I'm trying to do that in every area of my life. I haven't mastered it. I'm trying my best because there's certain circumstances and situations that's not as easy just to surrender to. But I do know how to do it. I just have to try to apply that in my life. And that's what I try to help teach other people how to do as well.
Awesome. And you know, I don't think any one of us is the finished article, because if that is, what the hell do we do with our time there?
We're all bored. Now we're all bored. We're done. Now what?
We're fixed.
That's it. That's all you got. Sorry. That's it. End of the ride. No more return trips. Done.
You almost feel like you've been cheated a bit. It's like, oh, you know, come on. Really?
This is it? Yeah.
I love it. Well, look, tell me, I mean, you may have already touched on this. Has there been any sort of an aha, release the genie moment for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think for me, that would have been my book that I wrote called God's Got This. That was really my big aha moment in life, was that place where that phrase came into my life. A friend and I were talking about it. He brought up God's got this. And it just, something hit me when he said it at that moment. It's not that I had never heard it before, but something hit me at that point. And it really became a cause for me. It became a movement in my heart before it became a movement on social media or anything of that nature, that I knew at that place in my life to say God's got this means I don't. And it's a place of abandonment. It's a place where I not like abandon and have no responsibility over anything, but at a place of abandonment where I'm saying, you have this. I give this to you because I can't handle this. I can't do this. Can't do it. But you can. So God's got this means I don't, which means you can handle all how it's supposed to work out. That's your business. You can figure out how to make this thing work. In the meantime, I'm going to do stuff down here called life, and I'm going to live life. I've told other people here recently, I said, I call that active waiting. It's a place of active waiting. So you know as well as I do, when you go to the doctors and you doing all these tests that are going to be something that's detrimental in your life, whether it's a terminal thing or when you had your accident and you're waiting on reports to come back and they're telling you, well, you know, your head might fall off one day, but we'll let you know in a couple of weeks if your head's going to fall off. In the meantime, don't move your head too much, right? So it's like that place in between. It's pure hell, bro. It's pure hell to go from that place when you're that waiting. So I call that active waiting, in the place where you have this abandonment release to him to say, God's got this. I don't want to say, okay, God, you got this. Okay, my head's going to fall off. Okay, I'll sit like this. But I need to go back and take that back from him right now because I need to worry about this some more. Because what I'm going to say now is that he's not good enough to handle it. I can handle it. I can make this happen. I can take cancer out of my own body right now. I'll just do it. I'm done. Right.
To be honest, I can see that's a tremendous aha moment, and for me personally, hearing that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that does make a lot of sense because you've got to be able to live your life. You've got to be able to give what you cannot control. Otherwise, that just consumes you, doesn't it? It
totally.
Just eats you alive, and whatever you have got, which is the problem, that's dwarfed by the other stuff.
Yes. And, people say to me, I'm sure you've heard it before, they'll say, man, blah, blah, blah. Well, my problems are nowhere near what you're going through, Matt. And my things don't really compare to what you've been going through. And I tell people, I said, hang on a second now. Pain is pain. And pain sucks. Yeah, my pain is labeled different than your pain, but they're no different. It impacts you just as much. So how do we help each other overcome these moments? Because they're all the same. It all sucks. So nowhere in life did it say, welcome to planet Earth. Enjoy the rest of your life because you're gonna have nothing in need. Right? It's what we just talked about before. It's like I've reached the end of the line. Now what? It's like come out of the chute. I'm on Earth now. What to do? You mean this is it? Let me back in. I don't want to be out here. This is horrible. What's this? So, to be able to have that freedom is quite a different place. It's freedom. It doesn't ignore the problems. It doesn't take your genie thing over there and rub on it and wish these things away. Right? That's not gonna. But what it does is it gives you a confidence and a clarity of something different, and that's just really how to live. And we can do that well when we invite other people into our lives to help. And that's really the hardest part for a lot of people is that thing to ask for help. It's really the hardest part.
I totally agree. I mean, and when I get people they say the same thing. I think they say that to everyone, but I always tell them, listen, this is not a pissing competition. I don't want it doesn't matter what it is. Trauma is trauma is trauma. And I love the bit about active listening. Oh my God, that's just, that is wonderful, wonderful advice. If anyone wants a single takeaway from that, please take that one away because that is life-changing. So we haven't even got near the wishes yet, my friend. And look at that, nuggets all over the place.
Well, interesting, Paul, I'll just say one more little nugget then for the active waiting thing. Is that instead of active waiting, for me as a Christian, there's the Bible and scriptures and stuff, things that we actually can read and try to live by. So one of those things that's in there to read and live by, as the scripture says, be anxious for nothing. And when you break it down in Greek to English and stuff, it says, don't worry, right? You break it down a little bit further, it says, shut your mess up. But there's other things to worry about, right? Don't worry about anything, right? So as we worry, the Bible actually says that if it says do not do, just simple, forget the Bible. If it says do not do and you do, you broke the do, right? Do not do 75 miles an hour in a 35-mile zone. If you do that, you will get penalized. You may go to jail, right? So in that sense, when it says be anxious for nothing, it's actually a sin to worry, because what you're saying then as a Christian is God is not good enough. And I don't know if most people that are faithful in their faith and believe in a God, whatever your faith might be, would be willing to say, I believe in you, but you're not good enough. Well, then quit. What's the point? Right? So, but if you are that person and it does say this and you do it, there's great benefit. If you don't, you're going to be stuck there for a long time. So that active waiting is a place where you understand that there's this place that you're not supposed to be in while you're actively waiting. And there's so much that happens in the theater of the mind. So when that place of waiting, I tell people it's the weight of the wait, the WEIGHT of the WAIT. And when we have the WEIGHT of the WAIT, and it's a period of time, then the byproduct of that weight, WEIGHT, is WORRY, spelling class today. And they are all heavy, and they are all things that we're not intended to carry ever. And when we do carry those things, we are no good for ourselves or anybody else. So active waiting and saying, for me, saying God's got this, that abandonment place is supposed to be a place of freedom and not worry, not concern. Now, let's be real, Matt. Nobody ever doesn't worry. You're right. But when it does come there, what do you do with it? Right? So there's a lot more we can go into there. But you want to know more, we'll do another show. And I got lots of stuff we can talk about with that. But in the meantime, that's what active waiting is all about.
Yeah. And I missaid it. It's active waiting rather than active listening. And
no, it's active listening and active waiting. I did a flip on it there.
You know, and you're absolutely
right. It is
right.
active waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because where we could go is the ego, edge God out. I mean, you've got all sorts of. That's fascinating. I love this type of discussion, man. So yeah, we will have another chat for sure.
Awesome.
This is going to be a good one for you. What is your release the genie quote? What's one of the mantras you sort of live by?
My personal one versus the one that I would share for other people as encouragement for myself, right? A personal thing for me is I've got a couple of them. I'm trying to process here which one I'd want to do. I mean, primarily it would be just believe. Now, I think that there's many times that it's so easy to not believe, so easy to give up when circumstances and situations look insurmountable. I face those times a lot. I face them. I'm facing them now, and I could make a choice to give up, or continue to press in, and continue to have that active waiting. Right. So for me, that thing would be just believe, and because believing is what changed my life. Believing is what took a drug addict, an alcoholic, and a womanizer, and a guy smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and a guy who used foul language all the time. It was just part of my language, right? I said I believed, and when I said I believed, all of that stopped. It was instantly changed. My belief, my alignment with the belief and truth that I was able to find, changed my life. And because it did that so powerful in my life at that time, I'll never forget what that was like. And it sometimes is a haunting reminder when I'm going to places with unbelief in my life to say, hey, dummy, yo, dumb, do you remember when you did this and this happened? You remember that? Yes, I do. Okay, wait, dummy, you remember the other time when you did this and then this happened? Yeah, okay, but okay, wait, dummy, do you remember the other time when this happened, right? And so it comes back down to believing, and if we can hold on to what we believe and really believe it, it changes everything. So for me, that's all I can do. That's all I can do, Paul, is believe. My hope and faith and trust in my God and his plan for my life is better than anything I can think of.
That is just wonderful. And I can feel, and first of all, I can feel it where the way you describe it, I can feel like the weight lifting off as you get more and more further and further away from that point. And rather than ripples get sort of petering out from the center, what yours is doing is strengthening from the center and actually getting more and more powerful.
The further away you get from the other stuff, the closer you're really getting to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, there's a line from a song which from Ian Brown. It says, "I am the drop of rain which becomes the crashing wave," and I just think that is just such a wonderful saying.
Yes.
And so yeah, I'll swap you the notes afterwards, but now it's called, and it's great. It's called "I Am the Rain," and it's just brilliant.
I like that.
So yeah, thank you, Ian Brown, for your creative genius, because you don't write that type of stuff unless you have actually know and been there yourself. It's just impossible.
Yeah, you just don't make that stuff up, brother. That just doesn't happen.
So wow, we're on a roll, my God. Who's your hero and why?
Well, I mean, by now, probably you should realize.
I'm kind of guessing where we're leaning on this.
Yeah, his name is Jesus. He is my hero. He is the ultimate hero of heroes. He did everything that he didn't have to for me. What I've been through is nothing compared to what he went through, and he did it by choice. He was willing. So I don't know anything better than that. So he is, and I listen to what he says, and I try to follow what his direction and path was as his example, and I want to be as much like him as I possibly can.
He personified surrender.
Yes.
Surrender to the events, surrender to, and when you say that this active waiting, this space you create, I can see the similarities, my friend. I really can. So I
Talk
think
about active waiting. This guy Jesus. I mean, whether you believe in him as God or not, I mean, let's just talk about the real historical man, Jesus Christ, that walked this planet Earth, and there's hundreds and hundreds of documents to prove so. So here's this guy who was on this big cross. He was no criminal. He didn't kill. He didn't do anything wrong. Yet he was there. And what he had, the amazing thing about that is he was fully surrendered. His arms wide open, completely surrendered, completely open, completely. So, I mean, you're right. So how could you follow anything less than something like that, right?
I love it, and the explanation you put out there is very, very compelling. So I really, really admire that.
Thanks.
And as you say, you don't have to be this, that, or it's just an ideal, and that is what our cause and ideals are. So I love that. Brilliant, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, look, tell us now a little bit about what you're doing, because I know you're stupid busy with all the projects, and I've sampled some of these and they are good. So let me ask you, what is it you're working on?
That's great. Life. So in the midst of that, I got a few moving parts, right? So obviously I'm a coach and consultant because I love people, and I want to be able to help as many as I can. So I really do that, and everything else that I do is more or less the vehicle to get to those places and people. I try to find them through the navigating I do, through some of the shows I do, and the content I provide on LinkedIn and other platforms. My social media home is LinkedIn, where you find all my stuff. And then I've got several shows. Now I call it Hope Revealed Podcast Network, because inside of that, I have the show Hope Revealed. I also have a show called Matt Chat Live. I have a show called Flight School. And we also do two shows that we have on Clubhouse. One, the primary show is Let's Get Naked, we just talked about a moment ago, and another show that will relaunch at some other point called Cancer FU, Cancer Fighters United. Yes, let me finish the sentence. It does go both ways, but those are some of the shows that I do. And all the shows, every show I do, everything is completely focused about you and how to provide hope and tools and resources for you to be able to accomplish what you're made to do on this planet. That's not my quote, but that's really what it's all about.
No, the thing I love about you, Matt, is that you are desperately passionate about helping somebody else. If we cut you open halfway through, it would say passion all the way through. So I salute you for that, because we need, and we have, people like you. So I just want to say,
yeah, I'm sitting next to one right now.
Yeah. Well, our jackets clash, so we've got to stay apart.
I know we didn't have that in the notes today, folks, but all right. We're both wild childs.
Well, they always say that life is the best imitation of art. So there we go. We can work out which one is which.
Absolutely.
So now we move to our wishes, as if I need any more bits of nuggets of, but I'm going to press ahead anyway. What is the best advice you received in your life?
The best advice. Well, I mean, obviously, the whole Bible, God stuff we've been talking about, not to belittle that at all. That's the biggest part of my whole life. And that is never-ending advice, because it's just living word. It's nonstop. Now, outside of that influence in my life, there are a couple of things that have really, really been powerful to me. And one of them comes from a book that Jim Collins wrote called Good to Great. And in that sense, I really had to realize that my life, as fast and busy as it's always been, I've always been nonstop, multiple task oriented kind of guy. I've got 1,000 moving parts, but I did come to a complete seeing moment outside of myself because somebody told me about it, that my life went so crazy that it made no sense how things could work. It was actually a gal that worked for me. She said, I know all you do. I see it all the time. I'm scheduling stuff. I'm doing stuff. She said, but I have no idea how you do you and how you're still able to make all this impact. I have no idea. And what that meant to me wasn't like, you're doing so good. You're fantastic, Matt. What that meant to me is that I'm really doing horrible because my life wasn't three things. It wasn't simple. It wasn't memorable. And it wasn't reproducible. And because I didn't have that there and I couldn't explain to people how I made these things work and couldn't explain how I did this, couldn't do that, I had to stop. I stopped and I regrouped everything and said, how can I make my life simple, memorable, and reproducible? And I decided to have a new path of my structure of the ways I did things, what was important, what wasn't important, created a calendar and I named my time. I owned my time, right? There's things about that were important. So for me, it was that I was a good singer, a good songwriter, a good dad, a good husband, hopefully, and a good business owner, a good marketing guy, a good author, good all this stuff, right? And then I was great at nothing. So I needed to try to zero in on what that was and try to be great at something, especially since Jesus on his way out said, hey, you're going to do greater things than me. Oh, I mean, he didn't do much. I mean, like, I don't know, raise people from the dead, blind would see, lame would walk, little things like that, no big deal. And then he says, oh, Matt, you're going to do greater than me. Whoa, are you serious? What is that, right? So that was a big thing for me, good to great. And the other thing that parallels with that is something that we've been saying for a long time, my home, is givers get. I'm a passionate giver. I love to give. Matter of fact, I get freaked out if I can't give. I feel this unease about not being able to give. And to be in a place of giving means you have to handle your finances properly. You have to. It doesn't mean you're rich. It just means that you're not slave to somebody else's life because you're in debt over your head, right? So those were important to me. Givers get, and the good to great stuff really helped transform the way I am and live my life. Applying everything else I know about scriptures and stuff to it.
Do you know, and as I listen to you, there's a couple of real solid things which actually you build off of that. And that's where rather than sort of scattergun, you're very focused. These are my ideals. How then can I translate that into actually, but still keep to the central root? And I can see that actually there is a structure. It may not look like there's a structure from the outside. It may look like Matt's everywhere, but there is a structure.
That's right.
And I think that's really important advice.
Well, everything has to have a purpose. I don't just do things for doing them sake. They all have a purpose and a meaning that aligns itself to what I do. That's one of the things I help people do, is help them to align their faith and beliefs with action so they can achieve an abundant life, right? So abundance doesn't mean you're a bazillionaire, could be, but abundance is a whole lot more than that. So, to have that place of, how much does that cost?
There's a Wayne Dyer quote which says, I have two wands. One of them will make you rich. The other one will give you peace. Which one do you choose? Right. And I think that's absolutely right. Wonderful. I mean, God, okay. Second wish, I could stop there, but I'm not going to. I should have left it. Number two, what is the best advice what is the advice you'd give your younger self?
Slow down, Matt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Slow down. That's something that I've had to learn, still am. But my first brain tumor was really when that happened for me solidly. The brakes hit the floor. Mm-hmm. And to take a guy that's moving 1,000 miles an hour in a bunch of different directions and you put the brakes on, something's going to happen. Something's going to break. And it did. I did. And I had to stop. And the one scripture that came to my mind that entire time that I absolutely despised the scripture, it says, "Be still and know that I'm God." And it sounds like no big deal, kind of a cute little thing, put on a bumper sticker or a bookmarker or whatever, right? But if you really listen to what that says to a guy like me, I'm like, oh man, be still and know. I mean, but being still is a waste of time. I could do stuff, right? And I had to understand the value. So I would definitely have told myself to have slowed things down.
Love that. And you're so right. When people say still, it's like, but I could, that's unproductive time. I mean, but that's not an easy lesson to learn. And I get that. And it's something I also work on every day. So I love it. Great advice to your younger self. I wish I'd have listened to my advice I'd give Maya, but hey, you have to be a dick at some point, and that was my time.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, hopefully I've progressed. Anyway, let's move on to the third wish, which is what is one attribute you would attribute to your success?
And my wife.
Perfect.
We haven't always seen eye to eye, and it's not always been pleasant. But she's in my life for a reason. And she has a way of bringing order to chaos. And sometimes chaos doesn't like to be put into order. She has given her life for me. And everything that you know about me really goes to the sacrifices and the support and love that she's given to me over the years. If it weren't for her, obviously God, because he gave her to me in the first place, but he gave her to me for a reason. And I do owe it to her.
That is so wonderful, my friend. And I agree. People come into your life for a reason. Some stay longer than others, but the ones who stay are the ones who are meant to stay. So
yeah,
I
love the one you're with. Not exactly the meaning of that song, but
but I love that you can sneak a little bit of song into there. We can't keep you down, look, and that's the chaos, not wanting to be put in the corner. I know this. So we're coming towards the end, so I would like you to, if you could, to recommend a book to the listeners and viewers.
Yeah.
You're looking around for it, aren't you?
I'm looking around because I thought about that question earlier, because I've been digging into a lot of different books lately. Almost information overload, a lot of books, so many books. Obviously the first one would be the Bible.
Yes.
But the second one, I think Good to Great has been a pretty good book for me. There's things about that are really, really influential. I think that they can really make an impact if you read it the right way. And I can tell you so many books. There's so many out there I've read that are really fantastic. Zach Friedman's a friend of mine. He did Lemonade Life, which is a fantastic book as well. I mean, there's so many. I've got a book sitting here on the desk. Another guy, Pradeep Sangha, just put one out, The Complete Man. It's fantastic. I mean, there's so many books I can tell you about. But I guess the one I talk about the most is that Jim Collins Good to Great book. So I would have to give honor to that one, just because it made such an impact in my life.
Love it. You're right. When you're well read and you've got this thirst for knowledge, it's really hard to put your finger on one, because they all play a part in different areas. So
they're all friends. It's all like having a room of friends, and you have all your friends say, "Which one do you like the most?" Oh, Paul Rogers, I think for sure. I like him the most.
I think
What do you say?
I think that's a wonderful way of putting it, and I love it. I love it. Really good. Right. Well, look, where can we get hold of you? You already mentioned LinkedIn, but tell us where we can track you down. I know your virtual real estate is huge, so tell us where the edges are.
Yeah, right here, mattcrump.tv. That's the first place to go to. No, just flash it up on the screen real fast. Right? Or LinkedIn. I mean, I'm in all the social places, but my home for social media is LinkedIn. And then all the deets about me is on mattcrump.tv.
There it is. There it is. Nice and simple. Banner above your head. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So I'm gonna now attempt to sum this up. So if I give you a virtual fist bump, that would be awesome. So, I mean, what a genie. To be honest, humble man, but also a driven man who is all about, and it's a central core. It's not just lip service. Who is here to help other people. He is a messenger. He is not, there isn't any reason why you go through all you do unless there's a purpose. And I really do believe you have found yours. And it's a pleasure and an honor to know you and be within your circle. Thank you once again for making time to be a genie today.
Yeah, thank you. I like.
Yeah. You're not. You see, the blue would have really clashed. Well, no, blue would go with orange. So hey, we'll work on that.
Those are matching colors of my color
scheme. Yeah, we'll have a blue sprint. We'll have a blue spray purple.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I love some color.
Yeah, color coordinated, my friend. So look, guys. Wow, there's so many takeaways today. The active waiting for me has been a real eye opener. Track this guy down. He's easy to find, and there is enough motivation and inspiration for you to now go forward, help other people, and to release your genie. Once again, thank you very much, Matt. And viewers, we'll see you next time. Stay tuned for some more fantastic guests. Matt has set the bar really high. So how can we top that? So thank you very much.
More out there, folks. Trust me. Stop waiting for you.
We'll just collect them all together. It's kind of cool. And so look, thank you very much, guys. Tune in next time. You know you're going to love it. And we'll see you later.
Well, that's a wrap. You have been listening to yet another episode of the Release the Genie podcast with host Paul Rogers. Be sure to follow Paul on the LinkedIn platform and learn more of Paul's resources at www.takeactionacademy.ca. And until next time, as always, be mindful and be sure to release your genie. Thanks for listening.